Did Donald Trump incite an insurrection?
He did not incite an insurrection by any legal standard. I disagree with a lot of the stuff he did between
So I'm not asking
the
you
election.
by legal standard. I'm asking you, did he incite an insurrection, yes or no?
No.
And so there's this idea that if we identify you as groups, we can use those groups to tear down the American infrastructure, this system that's been built by white men for the privilege of white men.
And they're told they can't go get it because there are people who are only in it because they're getting a check. You're saying that that is morally
superior to killing them? Yes.
To before they're born. So
Yes.
you're saying that torturing a human being who's born, like they're a real life
No, I'm
human
not the one
today.
in favor of torture.
Ben Shapiro has been all out against the woke culture in several debates with far-left supporters of Kamala Harris and the Democrat Party. Ben Shapiro gave no breathing space as he completely demolished all those pushing for the woke culture in an epic show of verbal brutality.
It's like American Gladiator over here. Hey, how's it going? Hey, good to meet you.
Yeah, so how do you feel about Donald Trump saying that he wants to terminate all articles found in the Constitution?
I mean, to what comment are you specifically referring?
Like his tweet on Twitter?
This interview started with this Kamala Harris supporter immediately beginning with a quote by Donald Trump, which he apparently pointed out. Still, Ben Shapiro was quick to fact-check him on the source of such data and give a befitting reply to the assertion.
He wants to obliterate all articles of the Constitution. I would also say that many of the things that Donald Trump says, I mean, show of hands, who takes everything that Donald Trump says seriously in this room? Really? All of you guys take everything he says seriously?
Ben Shapiro immediately went out of his way during this interview to find out just how many woke liberals take every statement of the ex-president as literal words, which, in Ben Shapiro's opinion, is a twisted excuse to find faults with Donald Trump, who he believes in some cases may be making a joke or exaggerating.
Also recommend that if you take everything that Donald Trump says absolutely literally, you might need to see a psychiatrist. Donald Trump does not take even Donald Trump does not take everything he says seriously. There's no, in any case.
Ben Shapiro went on to point out that while Donald Trump is being accused of a lot of false dictatorial use of power, Kamala Harris and the Biden administration are actually responsible for the most abuse of power on several occasions.
What the Biden administration has done, what Kamala Harris does, is expand the scope of executive power in unprecedented and much more subtle ways that threaten the viability of those institutions. So, for example, using OSHA in order to cram down a vaccine mandate on 80 million Americans, for example.
Next, we have a video of Ben Shapiro roasting Kamala Harris and her child actors on a show, where she completely fails to answer a question posed to her in what Ben Shapiro believes is an already scripted scenario.
She's so bad at this. So, first of all, the paid child actors. These kids are paid, and like the kid who reads the line is still a better actor than Kamala Harris, who's a terrible actor. She's got the hand motions and this and that. And when she finishes her brilliant point, you don't let them tell you who you are.
Ben Shapiro never misses an opportunity to take down Kamala Harris, especially during her scripted acts of kindness and gestures of social service, which Ben Shapiro has pointed out to be as fake as her entire persona.
Tells us that we should take it. I'm not taking it.
And there we go. No clip is complete without the extraordinary Kamala Harris cackle. Never forget that these folks, for like a year, downplayed the possibility of a vaccine, only to tell you that you had to be 80% comprised of the vaccine by body weight in order to go into a restaurant.
Ben Shapiro has made it his quest to troll Kamala Harris and her supporters on what he views as a blatant display of hypocrisy and double standards on all levels. A classic example is Kamala Harris's initial denial of the use of vaccines and her crackdown on Donald Trump for the same reason.
How do you feel about Donald Trump saying that he wants to terminate all articles found in the Constitution?
I mean, to what comment are you specifically referring?
Like his tweet on Twitter?
I mean, show of hands, who takes everything that Donald Trump says seriously in this room? If you take everything that Donald Trump says absolutely literally, you might need to see a psychiatrist.
Ben Shapiro has been on countless interviews where, in an open display of logical superiority, he has never missed a chance to crush the woke culture and leave liberals fuming in anger. His appearance on the Jubilee debates with avid Kamala Harris supports has a number of the most epic moments of Ben Shapiro destroying woke culture.
was found guilty of inciting an insurrection. He has 34 felonies. So you don't think that that is a threat? You can't even vote
That's
in
not
this.
accurate. He wasn't found guilty of inciting an insurrection.
So
he was
let me ask
impeached
you,
by the House of Representatives. He was acquitted by the
Ben,
Senate.
did Donald Trump incite an insurrection?
In this first interview, Shapiro debated the fact that Trump was never a direct cause of the violence that took place on January 6th by any legal standards. In contrast, the Democrats will have everyone believe that regardless of the fact that the ex-president only called for voters to stand up for their votes, he is responsible for the outrage that broke out.
I'm asking you, did he incite an insurrection, yes or no?
No, he did not incite an insurrection. Inciting usually requires you have to actually provoke the violence with intent to provoke the violence, not say peacefully protest at the House of Representatives,
so you know this as an attorney, right? Intent,
Yes.
right?
Ben Shapiro made his point clear. Being a lawyer himself and someone who understands how the legal system operates, he defended Trump on the account that insurrections can only exist in the case of an intent being established as a cause, leaving the woke debater speechless.
So here's so you know this as an attorney, right? Intent,
Yes.
right? Because you can have manslaughter and you can have murder. One's intent, one's not, but you still killed somebody, right?
Incitement is an intent crime.
Ben Shapiro had to tackle a guy who, in Ben Shapiro's view, has been brainwashed into hating against the white male, especially when himself is a white male. In Ben Shapiro's view, the entire narrative of privileged white supremacists in the modern age is nothing but a hoax.
Explain what I mean by diversity, equity, and inclusion. So the basic theory of diversity, equity, and inclusion is spelled out by people like Richard Delgado, who's sort of one of the founders of, for example, critical race theory, is that essentially disparities equal discrimination. That if you see any disparity between one group in the United States and another group in the United States, that is the result of some exterior discrimination. It is not the result of individuals within that group acting differently. It's not the result of cultural differences.
According to Ben Shapiro, the narrative pushed by the woke left is one that implies that the existence of disparity in society is always a result of racial discrimination, when in fact, individual behavior, regardless of race or social class, can influence the outcome of one's life, which is clearly manifested in the disparity within the criminal justice system.
And that to me is a failure of logic. It also is destructive in that it separates group from group, particularly in the United States, on the basis of race, which is not the best way of actually bringing Americans together or forming policy.
In Shapiro's view, the diversity, equity, and inclusion movement only serves to spread division and racial discrimination, in direct contrast with the total equality it preaches. The victimization of one race by other minorities will only lead to further alienation and division in the long run.
Because they're getting a check, you're saying that that is morally
Superior to killing them? Yes.
to before they're born. So
Yes.
you're saying that torturing a human being who's born, like they're a real life
No, I'm
human
not the one
today.
in favor of torture.
In this interview, Shapiro made it completely clear his stand against abortion, and his opponents nearly experienced a meltdown while trying to get Ben Shapiro cornered. In Shapiro's view, kids living in foster care is a way better outcome than the murder of an unborn child in the name of abortion.
What would you call that?
I'm confused by.
I know you
well,
are,
no,
because
but
your
I
argument
really-
contradicts itself.
No, it really doesn't. I mean, the argument that you're making is that a born child deprived of food and water never should have been born.
First
A beer or
question,
some-
can
okay.
men get pregnant?
Men cannot get pregnant,
Okay, awesome. So,
definitionally.
do men experience SA?
This next debate began on the note of transgender ideology, and Ben Shapiro seemed extremely ready to destroy the woke student as he made sure he answered the question of whether men could get pregnant with a direct no.
What about the existence of trans men?
What about the existence? Do you mean women who believe that they are men? What are we talking about here? Women experiencing gender dysphoria?
Ben Shapiro was very clear on the fact that he believed in the existence of only two genders, especially when he was asked about the existence of trans men. In Ben's opinion, the case of trans men is only that of women who believe they are men and suffer from nothing more than gender dysphoria. In Ben's opinion, taking part in their delusion would only foster the increase of such beliefs in society.
What in the history of America that legislates a man's body? So why does mine have to be legislated? I've got a vagina.
I'm not interested in what your genitalia are.
Clearly you are. I mean, it's all over everything you make, buddy.
Ben Shapiro's stance on transgender didn't change regardless of the fact that he stood face to face with a trans man who questioned him on his views about the woke culture. And his answer remained, as it has always been, that men cannot become women and women cannot become men.